Be informed and stay up to date with what your elected representatives are doing on your behalf with the State House Report.
Yeah, I'm State Representative Wendell Gilliard, representing District 111, which encompasses downtown Peninsula, Charleston, parts of the Peninsula, parts of the North area, and parts of West Ashley. I've held the esteemed office of City Councilman for 10 years before I got to the state level. And believe me, there were some trying times, but thank God, this thing we call energy, motivation is something that my family, the Gilliards, we have it in our DNA to always be committed, get involved, trying to make a change. And evidently, it has transcended to me. My father had it, my brothers had it. My father would always tell you, I am from a family of 11. I'm the youngest of the boys. It's one of my brothers. My father would always point to the fact that he's supposed to have been the politician. I was supposed to have been the pastor. So sometimes in my speaking, I tend to have that pastoral thing in me. And people would say, man, you sound like a preacher. And I'm like, oh, ooh, me? No, it's just my character. That's just me. I can't change for anybody. But that was something to behold. But yes, when I was a city council member, believe it or not, I was always telling people the fact that I was always high on technology. I did go to DeVry for about 2.5 years, had to come back home, help take care of the family. Did not complete the course, but yet I had it in me that technology was always the thing to behold. And I knew by reading books, by being a tinkler, and keeping up with technology, that you could use that as to help build a quality of life for our citizens, for the cause. When I say the cause, I'm talking about Black people cause, the SCLC movement, the National Action Network, the Racial Justice Network, Rainbow Push, those type of organizations that I've always been involved with at an early age in my life. But I always wanted to use technology to help advance the causes of those civil rights groups. And that's what I've been doing all my life. When I was on city council, I was urging citizens back then, believe it or not, to use back then the big bulky cam recorders to record crimes in their respective communities. And it actually worked. It actually worked. Because while on city council, I introduced an ordinance, and you could go to the YouTube and you could see it on my website, where Mayor Rowley back then and I were standing on a block. I had come up with the words that this area is now under surveillance. Okay? In other words, that ordinance had given the right for private citizens to record crime from a distance. And then as they recorded the crime, they would get in touch with the local law enforcement and then send the recorded tape to them. It worked well. But just like technology, it seems like technology, it goes in leaps and bounds. It's getting better every day. So we went from the big bulky cam recorders, now we got the doggone iPhones. Now you can just clip your iPhone on and do that. So, as time went on, my 10 years on city council, along with other things that we did, I came up with the idea. I took the definition of the FBI definition of a terrorist organization, and then I matched it with the court verdicts of the Ku Klux Klans, that this is why that they were deemed a terrorist organization. So I took the definition of a terrorist organization and I mixed it with the crimes that the KKK had done for centuries. And I declared the KKK a terrorist organization. Well, you can almost understand when I introduced that ordinance on city council, what kind of uproar. I would have never known it, but it brought an uproar from the hate groups. And they had marches on Charleston because their thing was, we cannot let this ordinance pass because we're not a terrorist organization. And I was like, duh, your history. From the past to the present, no, we will pass this ordinance. Needless to say, it got heated on city council. The mayor had called me in his office, so Mr. Gilliard, Councilman Gilliard, you know what you've done? I said, yeah, well, you know, for 400 plus years, my history, yeah, sure. You know, I'm standing on the shoulders of my ancestors. This ordinance needed to pass, and it did pass. A lot of people took that for granted, because that was sort of shoved, you know, to the side once we approved it. But nevertheless, it still happened. So when you come to Charleston, I would have never known we were around one of the first on record, on paper, that declared the KKK a terrorist organization legally on paper. That was my first achievement as a city council member. And then, believe it or not, as a city council member, we had this community in my district as a councilman. It's the only one found in the country where this black community in Marysville, Ashleyville, is located, West Ashley in Charleston. They had their own mayor, their own constable, they had their own city. And don't you know, in the journals at the state level, I had found out through my research that it was the legislature, and they were quoted, one representative was quoted saying, we cannot have these Negroes allotted this type of power. And don't you know they literally destroyed Maryville, Ashleyville overnight? They took the powers away. They told the mayor he was no longer mayor, told the sheriff, no longer sheriff. And the black community literally folded. See, it's that type of history that brought my interest to that community, saying that, you know what's going on in Maryville, Ashleyville? They have an adult pawn shop to the interests of that community. And you know what I did as a council member? And as a union organizer, I organized the community to bring the pawn shop down, because we could not have that type of business going in a very historical black community. Long story short, it took us 5.5 years, and we finally got that place amortized out of business. We finally shut it down. Now it's a beautiful service station there, store there for the community. So it was those type of things that I felt proud as a council member that I was able, me and my team, able to make change. Now, fast forward to the state level. Here I am, still high on technology. The body camera bill. I had to get everybody's attention to the fact that all these crimes that we're seeing that's being put upon our young black men, young black women in black communities, that these things needed justice to be served. So, body camera, it took me 6.5 years, way before the Walter Scott. I always tell people when I had introduced the ordinance to implement body cameras in all our law enforcement agencies here in the state of South Carolina, it was an uphill battle. But don't you know, when the Walter Scott incident happened, everybody was calling me saying, Representative Gilliard, that bill you was trying to get implement about the body cameras started to look good. Lo and behold, long story short, it went through the legislative process. We got it done. Now we have the body camera law. My latest plight, and always will be, is the hate crime bill that I introduced. Because, believe it or not, the Mother Manual is in my district that I proudly served back in Charleston, down on Calhoun Street. When that horrific incident happened, I knew then that South Carolina needed a hate crime law. We had to make a statement with the hate crime law. We're now presently still fighting that in the Senate. That bill has historically passed the House, not once, but twice. And now that bill is in the Senate and is being held up by 2 senators, just 2 senators. If we could get them to take their name off the objection list, that bill will proceed to the Senate floor. We feel that we have the votes on the floor to get it passed, and if it's passed, then it will go to the desk, governor's desk with no amendments, hopefully. But if they make amendments, then it has to go back to the House to be approved. So that's where that bill is, the hate crime. And we even named the bill after one of their own. It's called the Senator Clemente Pinckney Hate Crime Act. Okay, it's so ironic that they won't let this bill pass, even after naming the bill after the great senator. So hopefully we could get that bill passed this year and into law. Now, if it does not pass this year, well, guess what? Now it goes back on a different calendar. If it doesn't pass this year, it has to go back through the House come January again. And that's going to be another uphill battle. But it's things along that line, when we talk about social justice, that we're still in the forefront and fighting for. From the economic stance, we need better paying jobs. And I'll be the first to tell you, being a former union organizer, we need quality pay because we have the quality workers. We need better pay. You know, this thing about $15 an hour, that's off the plate. Thanks, to inflation. We have to catch up with the times. It's going to take us about $17, $25 an hour minimum wage to have people know that they're working for a quality of life. I'm a realist. Don't waste your time with $15 an hour. That's a waste. That's out the door. The teachers should come in at a minimum of $70,000 annually. I've done my research. They know the truth. Why are we spending 3% and throwing 3% every time we do the budget here in the state of South Carolina? And we have a massive problem, knowing that we have a massive problems with our educators. It's an exodus that's going on. They're seeking other professions because they shouldn't be working 2, 3, 4 jobs as a teacher. It's embarrassing. If we value our teachers, we value our young people, then let's put up or shut up. We have the monies to do it thanks to the Obama administration that Donald Trump is now taking credit for to get reelected. That's an embarrassment unto itself. He should be in jail, cut and dry. Let's stop trying to articulate a fool, okay? I always tell people, it's an old saying that goes, when you let a clown, mark me, when you let a clown into a castle, that clown does not become a king, but that castle, ladies and gentlemen, becomes a circus, okay? And that's what you see what's unfolding before America to this day. It's clear and present. We have let a clown into the castle, and now we have all these uproars from our civic organizations, from our school boards, you name it. The clown can claim it. And we should never let that happen again. All because justice delayed is justice denied. And justice to the American citizens, for the brother who was in charge of the insurrection, January 6th, he needs to be in jail. Because if that was any other group, if that was people of color, then you would have been under the jail. Let's get that straight. If we are a nation of laws, and then we better practice what we preach. So that's what I'm all about, ladies and gentlemen.